I am in my car. I'm getting ready to go get some lunch in between all of the work. You may have noted that I did a live stream yesterday that I immediately took down because I decided that I was going to do a bunch yesterday, and rather than, and I ended up only doing 3, but I thought it was going to be more, and rather than having like 10 different streams, I was just going to combine them into one. So I'm going to combine those 3 into one that was from yesterday, and it will be uploaded. But what I wanted you guys to know is that leading to DC and through DC, I'm going to be doing a lot of blogging's not the right word, vlogging, live streaming about the convention and about kind of like the behind the scenes a little bit. I've got to remember to pack, oh my god, this is going to get me demonetized, super chats matter, my strap on. But what I mean by that is my body cam strap on, so that I can, you know, walk around with it. My only concern with that is, well, I'll make it really obvious. Well, I mean, it'll be right between my boobs, which is, you know, we're, no matter how old you are, guys look all the time, because I don't want people saying things like they think are going to be private that are being live streamed. I'm thinking about putting on a name tag that says, hi, I'm live streaming, because I don't want to violate anyone's privacy. So I'm not taking this stream down. This isn't part of the series. It's kind of the introduction to the series. So anyone watching, if you'd like to comment now before I turn this off. And yes, my hair is wet, because there was a funny comment on Twitter, was it? It was from a hater, but I laughed my ass off because it was, why does CAH always look moist? You want to know why I always look moist? Is because I'm so freaking busy, I never have time to blow dry my hair. I go from work to in the shower to back to work. I don't have the luxury of time to blow my hair. That's why I always look moist, because I like being clean and taking showers, but I don't have time to blow dry my hair. I usually try to take a shower right before bed so my hair dries overnight, but I just got out of the shower, freshly pinked, and that's why I look moist. And also, if you're noticing, does it look like I've got a big ass pimple on my chin? Yeah, I got a big ass pimple on my chin. It's a stress pimple because there's just a lot of work to do. And one thing I wanted to address here, which I'm sure I will address in other streams, is the gossip is just outrageous. If you have a question for me, call me. I think my number is in the show notes, but if not, it's at the bottom of every single one of my LNC emails. There are so many untruths and half-truths, which can be as bad as outright untruths floating out there. Let me address one of them, because one of the biggest gossip mongers in the party is George Phillies. Yes, I'm going to say the name. So he puts up this post that's like the credentials committee and the LNC secretary, and I'm surprised at how much she was present in early meetings. Guess what he doesn't tell you? Those were not like early meetings. I mean, technically they were meetings, but they were planning sessions, and I was only there because a lot of them were new, and I was telling them convention setup. This is what the floor plan looks like. This is certain basic procedures. All of those meetings, go look at the dates, were prior to April 24th. Once states started sending their names in, I was busy on the COC. But the fact is, once they start doing the real credentialing, those minutes, those meetings are supposed to be public. But he's acting like there was some dastardly conspiracy because I was giving them some educational information at the beginning. Like, he really ought to be ashamed of himself. I don't know, what is he, like 70, 80 years old, and you're still acting like either a preteen girl or a gossipy fishwife? And somehow, I think he said she convinced, or somehow the credentials committee was convinced that they're a committee of the LNC. Oh, you could have asked. I thought you were supposed to be like some kind of journalist. You never ask for comments from the people you're gossiping about. I'm not saying I would ever give you a comment, but at least even like Some of the worst news organizations in the world write you for comment, even if you say no comment or ignore it. Do you want to know how they became convinced of it? It was they asked the party chair. That's how. It's not some big secret. The fact is, the LNC appoints half of the credentials committee. That it means it's not a type of committee that fits into any neat category. It's not sheerly a committee of the convention. Florida gets to appoint somebody. It's not sheerly a committee of Florida. It's a hybrid committee of which half of it is appointed by the LNC. And per the national bylaws, committees of the LNC have to have public meetings. Unless it's dealing with something that is like personally identifiable information, you know, people's phone numbers, things like that. Don't you find it funny that the same people who are complaining about some kind of lack of transparency on the LNC, which doesn't exist, I'm sorry, you can keep spinning your tails, are now complaining that the credentials committee is going to be open to any member of the public? Don't you find that funny? I find it convenient, is what I find it. Credentials committee meetings, once they start getting into the real work, have always been public. I remember the meetings with Emily Salvet in 2016, and when Susan Hogarth was chair in 2018, 2020, 2022. They were open meetings as they are supposed to be. What? Does George Phillies want secret credentials committee meetings? And then he goes, yeah, and someone raised their hand last meeting and they actually like took a vote on whether to hear from them, but they didn't do that with the national secretary early on. How do you know that? It was because it was without objection. They weren't doing things formally then, George. It was just they were planning sessions. If anyone objected, Josh could have said, nope, we're not going to hear from you. But, you know, damn me, fuck me for wanting to tell people procedure. We wonder sometimes why we're not successful. Or we wonder sometimes why there are certain people of certain communities that aren't in our party, such as why don't we have more women? But I actually do think we have more women than people think. It's because of situations like this. Men handle this type of like public that borders on bullying better than women do. I happen to be, you know, one of the more unusual women. I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me, because it does, but I don't know, I've been in public life enough that it doesn't bother me. But it's this kind of crap, and it does have with some people a really nasty misogynistic streak to it. At least that's the way I perceive it. I can't read anyone's heart. But if you hear these stories, ask yourself what the other side is. There's a proverb in the Bible that says, one man seems right until another pleads his case. So talk to all sides. My number is public. Now, as I start to travel to DC, I might not have as much time to talk to you, but you can catch me in DC and talk to me. I'll tell you my perspective. You don't have to agree with it, but at least you heard both sides. But it's so funny how a good deed gets turned into something nefarious. I went to the early credentials committee, like, let's get organized and what are we doing meetings to help them. And it was turned into something nefarious. And I'm sorry, that is really, really twisted. So there will be that video from yesterday uploaded later, and I will do videos hopefully each day. Oh my God, there are so many people watching. Thank you. And if you are in DC, I'm leaving on Tuesday morning, please come and say hi. I do like to put faces to names, even though I have a little bit of face blindness. I do like meeting you, and I do hope to meet you there. Bye-bye. Mi guapa, stay libertad.